In San Antonio, Chile, a delivery of Chinese cars arrives from the other side of the Pacific. Chinese auto imports are on the rise in Latin America. In 2019, China sold $2.2 billion worth of cars to the region. In the last 4 years, that figure quadrupled to $8.5 billion.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. You've probably heard by now, in Canada, like the United States and Europe, we have slapped Chinese-made EVs with 100% in tariffs. And this is with the hope of protecting our own homemade brands like Ford, GM's, Stellantis, VW, Mercedes, and many others that are manufactured outside of China. But you know who's not complaining? Other markets that welcome China alternatives. Now, other markets that have absolutely no allegiance to legacy automakers, and it's all about competition. Consumers benefit from fierce competition between product rivals. So with that said, Chinese cars have found new markets, and since the EV mandate was announced, other countries began to show interest. I like to give you stories outside of the norm, and this should be the real purpose of the media, in my estimation, is bringing you the news so that we can educate, inform, and entertain, so that you can make sound decisions from a non-bipartisan standpoint. Excuse me. Before I continue, please subscribe if you haven't done so, and hit that thumbs up button for the algorithm. So we're going to be showing you two videos. One, for you to take a look at the announcement of the Canadian tariff regime, for those who haven't yet grasped the concept of what we endure here in Canada. And the other video will be showing you exactly how the Chinese EVs have been making dominance, or taking a surge, or have been appreciated in other markets in the world. The world is a very big place, little that we know, but we get caught up in so many little things outside here. Things implement to keep us busy or to have us consumed with other things without appreciating some of the finer things in life that life has to offer. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at this news report by the CBC News, and then we'll continue.
At this electric vehicle dealership in Oakville, Ontario, it's clear what buyers are looking for.
The more options out there, the more competition, and maybe the better rates and better deals.
But the federal government's steep new 100% tariff is designed to make Chinese-made EVs less attractive.
Now, if it's going to be quite literally double the price, no one's going to buy it.
Ottawa's move is meant to protect EV manufacturing here at home and the billions of taxpayer dollars invested in the emerging industry. Automakers say this will buy them some time to shift into high gear.
We can build up this EV supply chain, and Canada can secure its role in the transformation to electric that is taking place globally in the automotive industry.
The most immediate hit will be to Tesla, which builds EVs for the Canadian market in Shanghai. Though the company could avoid the import tax by shifting production to a different country. Still, it's Chinese brands like BYD that are seen as the greatest threat. Experts say they ignore environmental and labor standards and are heavily subsidized by the government, giving them an unfair advantage.
It's very important for us to have a level playing field. The Chinese are very good at what they do, but what they do also includes breaking the rules.
In China, the BYD Seagull sells for the equivalent of $13,000. In an overseas market like Mexico, a similar BYD model costs $25,000. In Canada, one of the cheapest EVs available is the Fiat 500e.
Yeah, before we continue, if you're looking at the big price difference there, in China, where everything is manufactured and market ready, it will only cost them $13,000 because a lot of the operating expenses have been slashed. The same vehicle manufactured there in Mexico, you have to take into consideration the supply chain aspects of it, because a lot of the materials has to be shipped from China into Mexico to where the assembly actually takes place. And then this vehicle, the BYD Seagull, it's not yet available in China, but the equivalent to it here is the Fiat 500e. And look at the big difference between $13,000 all the way up to $42,000. 1.5 difference difference of $25,000 coming out of Mexico. That's still a big savings, considering that if we can get this vehicle imported from Mexico into Canada based on the NAFTA agreement we have between Mexico, the United States and Canada, but the competition still continues. Let's finish up this video.
Built in Italy, it's priced here at more than $42,000.
Building a plant in the U.S. or Canada would be beneficial to BYD. We fully expect something to be announced for Canada or a quick growth of a plant that they plan in Mexico.
The new rules will be in place for at least a year, but they likely can't keep companies like BYD away for good. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
As usual, this is the CBC News, and they don't take comments. Their comment section is always turned off, but we like to comment on a lot of the things. So almost every Tesla here in Canada comes from China because it's much cheaper to manufacture there. And the plants announced to make EVs here in Canada won't be up and fully functioning until about another 10 to 15 years, when we will start recouping all that grants and incentives given to the manufacturers to build those battery factories. Almost every government policy issued by the sitting government here in Canada has been more taxes, increasing taxes, or amend a current tax regime for the citizens to pay far more taxes. Nothing about investment, no new strategies, no growth initiative. Every policy implemented digs deeper into the citizens of Canada's pocket. And I'm digressing a little bit. Once you live here, you'll definitely understand. It is one of the reasons why a lot of people know, word out on the street, a lot of people now are re-looking at their living conditions here in Canada and thinking about going elsewhere, because if this continues, there will be no more citizens left to work or for the government to actually take more from us. I digress a bit, but basically you're seeing everything here. Every time a new decision comes out, it affects the ordinary Canadian in terms of additional taxes. Tariffs, 100% tariff for a new car is additional taxes. Imagine paying 100% more for a car that you'd like to explore, you'd like to enjoy, and actually this particular car that you want to buy is mandated by the very said government, said you have to purchase this car come 2035, but you're gonna have to pay more. It's just a double standard. It's weary. Now we're going to be showing you our main video from Taiwan Plus News Network. As I said, I like to feature a lot more videos of people doing things and giving you the news outside there. Sadly, we have to divest from mainstream media and go to channels like YouTube to actually find out exactly what is going on outside there in the world. So hats off to all the YouTubers and podcasters who are doing a tremendous job, especially here in the automotive space, giving us the information as to what is really taking place. Now, let's take a look at this next video, and it's titled Chinese Cars EVs Finding Big Markets in Latin America. Taiwan Plus News. Shout out to them. Let's get into this.
In San Antonio, Chile, a delivery of Chinese cars arrives from the other side of the Pacific. Chinese auto imports are on the rise in Latin America. In 2019, China sold $2.2 billion worth of cars to the region. In the last 4 years, that figure quadrupled to $8.5 billion. And more than a quarter of that came from electric vehicle sales. Unlike in North America and the EU, where stiff tariffs on Chinese EVs are being used to protect local automakers, sales to Latin America continue largely unabated.
Un automóvil chino aquí compite en igual característica con.
Latin America doesn't have any major homegrown consumer car brands, meaning the import market is open and Chinese prices are attractive.
Fuerza y la gente lo fue probando.
People started trying out Chinese brands
Y fue adoptándolos, digamos,
and slowly adopting it in a way that suited them.
dentro de su preferencia.
And the cars just work. The made in China stigma is fading as more buyers see for themselves that the Chinese SUV in their driveway is as reliable as the Chinese smartphone in their pocket.
We tend to stigmatize Chinese brands. And this is Claudia Perez, owner of a Chinese vehicle. But no, the pickup truck came out flawless. it had no problem.
No, la camioneta me salió impecable, no
In fact, when you get
tenía
in,
ningún problema. De hecho, como que cuando tú te subes a
you see everything and you
alguna, tú ves
think
que todo como súper plástico así, ¿no?
it's going to be super plastic-like.
No, está no. No, súper bien.
But no, this one was super good. Super good.
Súper bien. Así que no me arrepiento de
So I
haberme
don't regret buying it.
la comprado.
Electric vehicle sales are accelerating too. Almost all the electric buses and more than half of the EVs on Latin America's roads are Chinese. And inside each one are lithium batteries. Where does all that lithium come from? More than half of the world's known deposits are in just 3 countries: Chile and its neighbors Bolivia and Argentina. With clear business opportunities for both sides, the future of Chinese automakers in Latin America is looking bright. Eason Pan and Jonathan Kaplan for Taiwan Plus.
And that's why China is leading, because they are forward thinkers. Who would have known that they would have been doing businesses with these particular countries because the materials were already here in those countries? Forward thinking strategy, having a short-term, mid-term and long-term plan. And that's what it's all about, preparing an action plan for contingencies. Unlike here in the West, our contingency is all about taxes. More taxes, immigration and more taxes. That seemed to be the only way out to getting ourselves out of the economics conundrum that we see ourselves in. And I really need to brush up on my Spanish. Apologies for stopping the video, but I had to interpret for those who are listening. There you have it. No allegiance to any specific automaker based on what they're saying in the video here. That's why in these countries, one dealership will have multiple brands under their portfolio. And it wasn't until recently more brands started going into these countries and then they started to separate themselves. But the real money would own all these brands and create auto groups. If a brand isn't doing well, then they will sell it off to another family or another set of investors. And that's how auto business is done in developing countries. They don't have the super big numbers like here in the north, but the owner and their families make enough to live the lifestyle of kings and queens. In the end, the consumer should benefit. And that's what it's all about and should be about, the consumer. You want their money, you want their taxes, but should you push them to get it? That's the question. Far left liberal mindset is a disease in my sense. All they do is take from one and give to the other and then create division as they go forward. Every single policy that has came about has been divisive and not about unifying to get us to work together to create a common goal. We no longer hear our leaders talk about it. All they want to do is sell you hope. Hope is dead in my estimation. That's just my personal opinion. If you want something, you have to go out and work for it. But you can't work for it without having a common goal of how to unify the people and unify our values, our beliefs, and our culture. Unity is strength, as how they say. Some will think otherwise. The automotive sector right now is reeling because of the economic conditions that we're now operating in. The way they go about, try to implement these things, is to have us pay more taxes. Nothing else is new. Do you look forward to owning a Chinese EV? Is the 100% tariff imposed on Chinese EVs fair? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to grab a copy of my ebook, The Parts Manager Guide. Please smash that like button on your way out. It will only take you 1.5 seconds to do so. Until next time.